Movement is an essential in every game known to man. You can move forward, backwards, left, right, up, down, forward, diagonal, and backwards diagonal. All of these moves are meant to be used in video games. But in today's video, I'll be giving myself a handicap, and as read by the title, I'll be answering the question nobody asked for, which is, can you beat Skyrim only moving backwards? Let's begin, my fellow knights and dames. As our journey begins, I woke up in one of the most iconic scenes in gaming history. I made my character race a high elf, because this run I would be doing a mage build, since doing any form of fighting with actual weapons is pretty hard to do without using all of my movement. I then nearly got my head chopped off, but out of the skies a dragon came to my rescue. I was then let loose into the world to finally begin my adventure of walking backwards. My first challenge into the world would be to get through this door, which took me about 3 minutes to get into, but eventually I prevailed and I made it through the door. I then jumped off the tower and barely made it into the house. I saw some poor fellow be thrown into the air and presumably to his death. And this time around I decided to go with Hadvar only because his uncle was the blacksmith. After entering the room, I proceeded to loot the entire room. I then got my first taste of melee combat. I only killed one guy, but that's only because he walked into my attack. I sort of fought some other guys. Not really, Hadvar did most of the heavy lifting. I walked backwards down some stairs, opened the lock, and got a book which taught me how to use force lightning. Fought some more people, but this time I actually helped out a bit more. Killed some spiders, and I snuck past the bear because I would rather much have my pancreas inside of me. On my way to Riverwood, I activated the Mage Stone to further increase the rate of my magic skills would be learned at. I then murdered a family of wolves, and I then found myself at Riverwood. Once I arrived, I had a nice conversation with Alvor and I bought a shield from him also. I then began to make my way over to Whiterun. After I made my entrance, I then talked to the Jarl and his mage sent me on a quest to retrieve the Dragon Stone. So I of course began moonwalking my way there. On my way there, I tried climbing this mountain for about 5 minutes before finding out that there was a pathway leading up to the marked area. Upon following the path, I eventually made it to Bleak Falls, killed some bandits at the entrance, and as I entered the cave, I pulled out my bow and arrow to start leveling up my archery for future dragon fights. I then opened a locked chest. I shot a perfect arrow into this guy's spine, solved the puzzle that guy would have died to if I didn't kill him first, burned a giant spider into a crisp, killed Arvel immediately because I already knew he had the golden claw on him, got jumped by some draugrs. I somehow got past this trap while walking backwards. I leveled up to level 2. I then came across a problem, which were these swinging axes. I didn't know if I was gonna die immediately or not, so just to make sure I made a quick save. I then slowly walked backwards through the swinging axes and only got hit once. But continuing on, I fought more draugrs, solved the golden claw puzzle, learned a new shout. I flawlessly handled the draugr overlord. I then backwards my way out of the cave. I then backwards b-hopped to Farngar, gave the dragon stone to the mage, stole one of his soul gems, learned some new enchantments. The Jarl then told me to go fight a dragon, which I did indeed fight and kill the dragon. I then talked to the Jarl again, decided to take Lydia with me because I needed a distraction when I was in fights, and to be my storage. So Lydia would be my extra backpack and my human shield. Anyways, I then ran around Whiterun for a while, and then decided to learn how to fire an Ultramac, and I then began to make my way to Ivarstead. But on my way there, I encountered some Imperial guards, who asked me to pay a fine for intruding on their business. I of course didn't comply with their orders, and I made them pay dearly for it. In actuality, they almost wiped the floor with me, but I came out on top. My next encounter on my journey was with a necromancer at a ritual stone. I of course came out on top on that battle, proceeded to do some more walking, opened a chest, walked down the side of a mountain, did some chit chat with some Stormcloak soldiers, swam for the first time backwards. I then found a random horse which I tried to ride backwards, but dear lord, that didn't work at all. Did a whole lot more backwarding, fought a troll, and I finally made it to High Hrothgar. Talked to some old skanks, I then shouted at them. I then came to my first major, big, humongous problem. The old skanks wanted me to do a whirlwind shout, but in doing so it would propel me forward, which of course is not allowed. I tried to walk backwards as fast as I could, but to no avail, so I had no choice but to move forward, or per se, shout forward. You think that the video is over? No, not yet it is. If you want to stick around to see how much further we can go without having to move forward again, come along. We still have about 23 hours of gameplay footage to go through. Let's continue. After accepting defeat, the old skank sent me to retrieve the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. So in order to shorten this journey, I took a carriage to Morthal. After arriving there, I slowly made my way to Ustengrav. After fighting some bandits at the entrance and making my way in, I did some more bow and arrow action. I then resurrected a draugr, fought waves of worth amounts of draugrs on my way to the horn, got set on fire, and came to yet another big problem. In order to open this door, you must use Whirlwind Shout in order to activate these 3 stones. And you already know I can't move forwards like that. After a while, I yet again accepted defeat, and once again used Whirlwind Sprint, making this the second inevitable forward movement in the game so far. But yet again, that doesn't mean the challenge is over. Come along with me to see how much farther we can go without having to move forward. After getting past that part, I then stepped into some more traps, got poisoned while fighting some spiders, resurrected a spider, found out somebody already took the horn, and had also left me a love confession. I slowly walked backwards out of the cave, teleported my way to Riverwood. On my arrival, some cultists tried to assassinate me. Luckily, things didn't turn out in their favor. After all that commotion, I did some bartering with Alvor, found and talked to my secret admirer. She told me to go to a dragon burial site, but I first teleported my way to Dragon Search, where I would spam my courage spell in order to gain levels, and also where I would do my magic shenanigans. After making Lydia very courageous, I then made my way back to the old skinks in order to learn the final word of unrelenting force. Afterwards, I made my way back to the Whiterun stables, where I would buy a carriage to Windhelm, just to save a bit more time. After a lot of walking, I eventually met up with Delphine and saw a dragon be resurrected. Too bad for that dragon, I would kill him just minutes later. I then searched all the dead soldiers and dead bodies, ate the dragon's soul, took as many bones and dragon scales as I could, talked to Delphine once again. She gave me the order of sneaking into the Thalmor embassy, but before doing so, I would first return the Golden Claw to its rightful owner. I then started the side quest in my time of need, but I realized that I had to backwards walk a pretty far distance in order to complete the mission the easy way, so I of course abandoned the quest temporarily. And so I did the per usual. I hopped in the back of a carriage and I rode to Solitude. Went AFK for a while, backwards b-hopped my way to the Solitude entrance, watched some dude get fatality, gave some guy my items that he would sneak into the embassy for me, ran around underwear naked for a bit, got given some nice clothes, entered the embassy, talked around for a while, caused a distraction, got some of my items back, and I was sent on my own to investigate the Thalmor secrets. Tried to kill this dude with one arrow shot, but that didn't turn out so well. I then entered the garden where many mages were using sparks, which would drain all of my magicka very fast. So I found myself in a bit of a predicament. At one point he brought me down to 1 HP. No, literally. 1. So I retreated back into the building where I would heal myself up. After waiting for my magicka to build up again, I made my way back out to the garden, and I resurrected a soldier to fight for me, cause I can't melee at all. I tried to soul trap the soldier for a while, but my magicka was too garbage, so I ended up just shocking him to death. I then entered the embassy, where I was jumped by a mage and a Thalmor soldier. I almost won the battle, but because of the mage's sparks, I died. So round 2, I prepared with my summon, but before I ended a fight with them once again, some random guy came out and started attacking me. After the incident, I then entered the embassy, where there was only one enemy, which was the Thalmor soldier, and the mage was nowhere to be found. I then fought some more annoying mages who were using sparks, so I had to use melee. Somehow I actually did kill the mages with melee. I read up on some guy named Esbern, freed some random dude who would die in about the next 2 minutes by a frost troll. Luckily I could summon a flame atronach to do more damage. I then made my way back to Delphine, did some bartering with the blacksmiths in Riverwood and Whiterun, and then I did the per usual, go to the Whiterun stables, and I bought a carriage to Riften and made my way there. Upon my arrival, I smoothly talked my way into Riften, which is something I could never do in my first Fallout challenge, which should pop up in the top right corner right about now. Anyways, I then did a small side quest, which involves me stealing a ring and putting that ring in someone else's pockets. I then began making my way through the tunnels to find Esbern. On my way there, I fought some sewer junkies, walked past the Thieves Guild's hideout, and I finally made it to Esbern, where we then talked about dragon shenanigans. On our way out, we were jumped by Thalmor soldiers and mages. After wiping the floor with all of them, I teleported my way back to Riften, where the two old skinks would meet up once again. Their plan was to meet around Karthspire, so I did the same thing as the per usual. I bought a carriage to Markarth to shorten up the journey. After arriving there, I did a whole lot more backwardings to get to my destination. Came across and defeated a blood dragon, slaughtered an innocent group of natives protecting their land. I then teleported to Whiterun to sell all of their armor, made my way back to Karthspire. I almost got stuck on a puzzle in the cave, but I somehow solved the puzzle. Entered a trap room where Lydia proceeded to get obliterated, sliced my hand, opened a door, got access to the Blades armory, got told to go talk to the old skinks on the mountain to ask for a shout. I got a nice view of the land, did a whole bunch of bartering around Skyrim, finally talked to one of the old skinks, learned a new shout, made my way up to Parthenax, and I finally met Parthenax. He then told me to go find the Elder Scroll, talked to one of the old people at the retirement home about the whereabouts of the Elder Scroll. He then told me to go to Winterhold, which I of course promptly did. Upon arriving, I then got access to the College of Winterhold. I then talked to Urag about the whereabouts of the Elder Scroll. He then sent me off into the ice fields in order to look for Septimus. I tried making my way down by climbing the mountain, which sadly didn't work. The second time I tried getting down, I tried jumping into the water, but I missed by a couple of feet. After some more failing and dying, I eventually went down the path leading me down to the ice field. After making my way over to Septimus Caves, he then gave me the lexicon, which I would have to describe in order to gain the Elder knowledge. After leaving his cave, I made my way to Aftland. On my way there, I would find a wandering traveler, kill some wolves, and fight a saber cat. I then found myself at Aftland. I then made my way through the ruins, killing everything that stood in my way, until Lydia's stupid self stepped on a trap resulting in our death, making me do the whole section of the ruin all over again. So after a whole lot more slaughtering, I reached the end of the ruin and opened a secret passageway into the next area. But before doing doing so, I would return to the surface to sell all of my junk. After doing so, I then returned to the underground ruin, where I fought a dwarven sphere, which absolutely almost laid me out cold. When this event occurred, I then made a revelation that I was too incredibly weak in order to carry on throughout the underground ruin. So I made my way back up to the surface in order to do some side quests. The first quest I would finish was the Redgar woman quest. I decided that I would walk all that way to tell where the whereabouts of the Redgar woman was. On my way to talk to them, I fought some vampire thralls, killed a dragon, and I then began making my walk to Rorikstead. I then snitched on the Redguard woman, returned to Whiterun. I then led her out to the stables where we would get the jump on her. I got paid my dues and went off into the sunset. After walking into the sunset, I then made my way to the College of Winterhold to master my mage skills. After my arrival, I took some mage classes, made my way to Sarthal, and on my way there, I fought a saber cat, and that was really about it. I then walked the rest of the way there to my destination. I then entered the excavation site, walked around for a bit, got stuck in a trap, blew off a door. Some guy used the power of Zawar though in order to have a quick chat with me, fought some draugrs, lost some footage, but I found this giant ball of magicka, I think. I then got sent to go find some missing books for the librarian. I eventually found the culprit who took the books. I then let him free to come fight alongside me, but a couple of minutes later, an icicle went through his intestines and he shortly died in a matter of seconds. After some more slaughtering, I eventually made it to the big boss, named the Caller, which I promptly ended her breathing. I then found all the books and returned them to the librarian, did some investigating around the school, and at this point I realized I needed another companion, so I would travel to Farkreath in order to find a special companion. But before doing so, I would fight a dragon and take its soul, and I would also run some errands for the Jarl of Farkreath. After all that, I found my newest companion, and his name was Barbas. I would be taking him with me for the rest of my journey. After getting Barbas as my newest party member, I would join the Stormcloaks in their efforts against the Imperials. In order to test me, they sent me to go slay an ice wraith. On my very long way there, I came across another dog. But anyways, after getting into the cave, I realized that I was doing Barbas' quest, and I had just wasted my time walking all the way there. So I then swiftly made my way back to the Stormcloaks' destination, where I would find a weird shrine, kill a bear, walked across the ice fields, and slayed the ice wraith. After doing so, I then reported my success to Galmar. He then sent me to go take over a ruin for a jagged crown. I was told to meet with the rest of the troop for a calculated attack, but I'm a man of action and without thought, so I hopped down and started my attack. After killing all of the Imperials near the entrance, we slaughtered everyone inside. I solved another claw puzzle, killed some draugrs, retrieved the crown, learned how to slow down time using a shout for 8 seconds, gave the crown to Jarl Ulfric. Ulfric then sent me to go give an axe of peace to the Jarl of Whiterun. I tried to give the axe to the Jarl, but he gave me the boot. I returned to Ulfric to report the results of the axe giving. His plan was now to raid and take over Whiterun with force. I teleported into the front lines, and I backwards my way into battle, shot some Imperials near the entrance with my bow and arrow, opened the gates up, slaughtered anyone that wasn't a Stormcloak, destroyed the Jarl of Whiterun, but afterwards the quest glitched, and the Jarl wouldn't surrender. So out of options, I attacked the Jarl, which didn't end so well, and after responding, Galmor started attacking me, so I of course put him in check. After a lot of more rich, juicy Bethesda experience, the game eventually realized that the Jarl had surrendered. But upon teleporting to Windhelm, I was registered as a criminal and had to pay 2,000 gold. I of course declined, so I got jumped by some guards. So after yet again another reload, I just gave Lydia all my stolen stuff and teleported to Windhelm and paid off my crimes. As you can tell, I wasn't very happy of paying 2,000 gold. Now after I went through all that juicy, tender Bethesda experience, I then talked to Ulfric to report my success of the Jarl's surrender. Wow, somehow I said that entire line in one take. Anyways, he would then send me to liberate the Falkreath hold. I tried to sneak in, but I somehow got spotted on the side. So I went through the front door and slaughtered all the Imperials and freed my Stormcloak brothers. I then reported my success to Ulfric as per usual, and I was finally ready to return to the Black Reach Caves. Upon my arrival and return, I looted the field laboratory, fought my way through a numerous amount of enemies, backwards my way all the way to the Tower of Mazark, decoded the lexicon, retrieved the Elder Scroll, returned to Parthenak's front yard, read the Elder Scroll, saw Alduin get violated in the past, had a long hard battle against Alduin. I of course came out on top and wiped the floor with him. Talked to Esbern, he told me of the trap in Dragon's Reach. He also told me to kill Parthenax, but really, who killed Parthenax in their playthrough? You're just a monster if you do. Anyways, after teleporting to Dragon's Reach, I went into the Jarl's bedroom to talk to him, but I tried to take an unusual gem from his desk and had a long fight for it, but then I just reloaded to save. After doing so, I then talked to the Jarl about trapping Odhavin, but he wouldn't do it unless both sides of the war would come to peace for a while. In order to do so, I talked to the Old Skanks to hold a meeting for peace for about 10 minutes while we do dragon things. The Cranpas eventually folded and allowed such a meeting in their house. After calling General Tulio releasing Jarl Ulfric to the meeting and booting the Thalmor out of the meeting, they disputed on which territories go where. After coming to an understanding of what goes to who, I then went to go tell the Jarl of Whiterun, but yet again I experienced that juicy Bethesda experience. The Jarl wouldn't get out of the tavern, so I teleported to Riverwood in hopes of resetting his character. Upon teleporting there, our dragon decided to challenge me, which he would later regret once he took his last breath. I then ran around Skyrim selling my dragon bones and my dragon scales. But even after doing all that bartering, I returned to the Jarl who was still stuck in the tavern telling me,
"Return to Whiterun. I'll get my men ready to help trap this dragon."
So after a while with the help of Barbas, we shoved the Jarl enough to the door to where he would return to Dragon's Reach. Finally, after he returned and experiencing that Bethesda experience, I called Odhaving to the trap, where we would capture him and he would fly me to Skuldafin, and where the final saga would begin. After Odhaving flew me to Skuldafin, I fought and killed a dragon, fought some draugrs, killed another dragon, fought some more draugrs, and pretty much eliminated everyone that stood in my way through the temple. Solved some puzzles, killed some more draugrs, set myself on fire, solved yet again another claw puzzle. I approached Nakrim and challenged him to a mage-off. I nearly died, but luckily I had an unholy amount of potions in my bag I used. I then shot all of my lightning and magic at him and burnt him into a crisp. I essentially took his soul and his power that day. I then opened the portal to Sovngarde, made my way through the smoke, eventually talked to Sun, fought him, and he nearly beat me to death. Luckily, he stopped attacking me after that one good hit. Talked to 3 old legends, shouted the fog away, and the final battle had begun. During the battle, I had taken every single potion that could help me in this battle. I've said battle about 3 times in a row now 4. Anyways, I eventually hit Alduin right in between the eyes with my bow and arrow, ending the battle. After defeating Alduin, Sun sent me back to the throat of the world, where our journey would end. Now after all of that, to answer your question you came here for and you already know the answer to, can you beat Skyrim only moving backwards? Well, sadly, no, it isn't possible. As you saw, there are only really 2 parts where moving forward is absolutely necessary. Unless I broke the game Yimfa style, there's no way you can beat Skyrim only moving backwards. And this will go down on the history of this channel for the first ever challenge which I couldn't beat. But hey, if you like what you saw, subscribe and leave a like as well. And if you don't, well, nothing's gonna happen, you'll just be hurting my feelings. But also, I make a video half a century, so I'm very consistent. But anyways, it's been a crazy journey this day. Until next time, my fellow knights and dames.